Hi, everybody. Guess who? I'm going to try to speak in a more relaxed tone like this throughout the video because I should be going night-night soon. But also, this is just a different kind of video. I am going to be responding to this video that we're going to watch together. Just because, as you can see, the comments are turned off. I also love this movie, Ex Machina. It's very dope. I love these types of movies. This movie, AI, um, he says it's not a good one. It's tonally dissonant and has a really peculiar take on the Pinocchio narrative. I think it's worth talking about. I agree. However, I think this movie is amazing. I think this movie is awesome. I have never seen another movie like this in my entire life, and I don't think I ever will again. We're going to get into the reasons why. Let me just tell you a teeny tiny bit about it before we press play. So this movie came out in the year 2001, if I'm not mistaken, and it's starring Haley Joel Osment as the main character. Jude Law is also in it. Robin Williams has a very, very small bit part in it. I'm sorry I can't remember any of the other actors' names, but this movie is very unique in that Stanley Kubrick was interested in creating this movie, was interested in making this movie. He and Steven Spielberg, who ended up actually making this movie, would like fax each other script pages of this movie all the time. I really would consider it the brainchild of Stanley Kubrick. But so they faxed each other, sent each other pages of the script for literal years, I think over a decade. They were doing that, exchanging, expanding upon the story, like continuing to build upon the script. What I love so much forever and ever and ever and ever, forever and ever and ever about Kubrick is that he could make a movie about something and, you would see the story before your eyes, but it wouldn't really be about the story before your eyes. It would be about some entirely different, extremely complicated philosophical question. And that's what this movie Artificial Intelligence is about. It is, in fact, a kind of rendition of Pinocchio, but I think it's the scariest and most depressing one yet. And I actually disagree with this guy, Big Joel, about what he has to say about it. And that's why I'm making this video, because he turned off the comments, and I think I know why, but we're going to get into that later. So let's watch. Oh, do I have the... Let's do it a little bit faster. Okay.
In 2001, AI was released. It was originally the brainchild of acclaimed director Stanley Kubrick, but in the wake of his death, Steven Spielberg made it.
I forgot to say a second ago, right before my love, I don't want to call him that, right before my very favorite director, Stanley Kubrick, died, he actually sent Spielberg because they were, they were creating the script, they were writing the script together, but they were sort of debating back and forth which one of them should actually make it. And right before he died, Kubrick said, "Okay, Steven, you should make it." Which is interesting. And the thing about this movie, though, when you watch it, is that it really, truly does not have a Spielberg feel to it. Spielberg made Schindler's List. I'm trying to think of other depressing movies he made, but, like, I don't even really think that Schindler's List is as depressing as this movie, but anyway.
And the two completely different voices that went into this movie show, like, a lot. Sometimes it feels like it wants to be a Spielberg kids flick. Other times it wants to be a surreal and cynical Kubrick film. And clocking in at 2.5 hours, it's just hard to watch.
It is hard to watch because Haley Joel Osment is and always will be a superstar in my eyes. He is and always will be one of the most phenomenal actors to ever walk the earth, and he was that with little to no training as a child, right? I don't know how old he was when they shot this movie, 10, 11, maybe 12. Um and it's really really interesting to watch this movie. It's very disturbing, and I think you should watch it. But anyway,
Weird to watch and hard to watch. But that being said, even though the aesthetic of the film is muddled and bipolar, it is a film. And what's more, it's a film made by two people who are really good at making films. And so it only makes sense to ask, how does this movie function? What is it trying to say, and does it say it well? That's this video.
yes,
What's with AI?
I have my own opinion, but I'm not going to say it at this very moment.
There are two main thematic tendencies in this movie, and at every level, these clash against each other. The first of these tendencies falls in line with the classic Pinocchio story.
Bring me in Pinocchio. You will find him hanging on a nail.
It's a story about how valuable it is to be human. David, a robot, is created for a grieving couple in order to replace their child who's in a coma. He's programmed to be able to love, and to love only his mother.
This imprinting is irreversible. The robot child's love would be sealed in a sense hardwired and would be part of him forever.
But when their sick son wakes up and returns home, they no longer...
Okay, so it's not, I think they just barely showed the tail end of it just there when the dad came by with the contract in his hands, the papers in his hands. That scene where Monica, that's the mom, the mother figure in this movie, is quote unquote imprinting on David. It's part of his program. So she presses a button on him and reads him a list of words. And because he's a robot, that starts, that triggers, I don't know what to call it, his imprinting upon Monica, the mom. And he just instantly loves her. And I can't really, oh my gosh, I might get emotional just talking about this. I can't really describe it. You have to watch it. But like, wow, okay, I didn't think I was gonna get emotional about this. Holy shit, I'm sorry. Just like the look on David's face, on Haley Joel Osment's face, once he suddenly loves Monica, is like, it's pretty striking in the movie. And that's why I think that HJO is just so excellent. Is one of the reasons is that scene. But like, do you know how someone looks at you when they truly, truly love you? It's not a one-time thing, but well, you know, there are moments where someone just looks at you and you know that you're fully loved by them. You gotta watch this movie. Anyway.
Need or want David. His mother abandons him, and he spends the rest of the movie trying to become...
Okay, sorry, I was talking too much, so it was probably unclear. The parents get David, this prototype, this robot. I think they get it through the dad's work or something, or they get it through some thing because they want him. They want the robot child because their other son is ill and he's in a coma. And then he comes out of the coma and they try to make it work for a little while, but it doesn't work for it long because the real son successfully plots for David to be rejected by the parents, especially the mom, and that's what happens. And then the mom ditches David in a fucking forest.
Human, so that his mom will love him again. So yeah, it's like a dark...
And then he goes on this epic journey to try and get back to the mom, get back to Monica, to be loved by her, and for him to love her back.
of Pinocchio, and as such, much of the movie centers around how great it is to be a human. David spends the bulk of his time talking about how much he wants to be a person, ceaselessly journeying after the love that only humans can experience.
Please. Please. Make me real.
And this notion that humans are great beings that we should long to be is echoed at the end of the movie when the aliens who visit David say this.
David, I often felt a sort of envy of human beings, of that thing they called spirit. Human beings had created a million explanations of the meaning of life in art, in poetry, in mathematical formulas. Certainly human beings must be the key to the meaning of existence.
The other thematic tendency in this movie runs totally counter to human worship. A lot of the film hates and resents human beings, considers them a fundamentally malignant force.
And you are alone now only because they tired of you, or replaced you with a younger model, or were displeased with something you said or broke.
I mean, what good thing does any person ever do over the course of this movie?
That's a good question, because the humans are not portrayed in positive ways. You know, David's mother, we like her at first, and then she does reject him and she leaves him in the forest. David's, father figure, who he's not imprinted on, is rather indifferent towards him. And the brother, like I said, prompted him to be rejected by the mother. And also what happens is David goes and, where we just saw that city scene a moment ago, David goes and finds all these robots in the city, and like Jude Law said, they're humans just eventually reject the AI. They reject the robots. In this movie they call them mecha, but it's MECHA, mechanical. So there are humans and there are mecha. Anyway.
David's human brother constantly sabotages him.
I want a lock of Mommy's hair. I'll share it with you. And if you had it and wore it, she might love you even more.
His mother leaves him in the woods to lust after her forever. People get sick pleasure out of watching obviously sentient robots be dismembered. So what exactly is so good about humans in this movie? What quality do they have that anybody could admire?
They created AI. They created robots. They created mecha. I don't think that Big Joel here is like seeing the point, because I don't think he's really analyzing this as a Kubrick movie. And though Kubrick did not direct this, he did have a really large part in creating this movie. And like I said, this movie does not appear or come across as a Spielberg movie. It really, really does not. It comes across more to me as a Kubrick movie. And I can see where Big Joel is coming from, in that, like, he doesn't like how the humans are portrayed, that humans are not portrayed in a positive way in this movie. And I think he's getting at something there, but I think that they are portrayed as, like, maybe having been kind of well-intended yet careless. And like, okay, I'm just gonna go here. I really hope this video isn't too long. It's gonna be fucking long, so enjoy. I'm just saying I have a limited number of minutes I can make a video. Anyway, fucking forgot what I was gonna say, god damn it. Okay, this is what I was gonna say. And this is pertaining to the Pinocchio aspect of this story. And this question didn't come to me until a few years ago when I really revisited this movie, because I saw this movie when I was a child. This movie came out when I was a child. Okay? Who the fuck is going to create a little robot that appears as a human child? And then, who the fuck is going to program that human robot child to do anything for the person it imprints upon? Who's gonna do that? You tell me. Anything. Okay? David does any and everything. He moves the earth backwards. He moves 10 mountains. He does so many things to try and get back to Monica. And he's also not, what's the word? What is the word I'm trying to say? He's not invincible, but he's not mortal. He's not as mortal as a human child, right? And the reason that David's parents rejected David was because they had a mortal child. Fuck, bro, this is getting meta. Anyway.
These two thematic structures that pervade the movie, pro-human and anti-human, and it always feels like they're butting heads with each other. Look at this scene toward the beginning of the film, when David's human brother manipulates him into eating food.
So do I.
On one hand, we're supposed to accept that what David wants is reasonable. He wants to consume food, to be human like his brother. On the other hand, the only humans we've ever met are total dickweeds. Why would anyone want to be a human like this kid? He's so mean and...
He wants to compete for attention of the parents. That's why. Big Joel. That's why he did that. He knew that it would mess him up. He knew that eating would mess him up. So that's why he did so. He wanted to compete like a real boy. He wanted to compete like real brothers do. And that's why he ate that food.
Weird. Or look at this scene, when all the robots are at the flesh fair, and David is trying to avoid the chopping block.
Don't burn me! Don't burn me! I'm not Pinocchio! Don't make me die! I'm David! I'm David!
This lady says,
Mecca don't plead for their lives? Who is that? He looks like a boy.
and the whole crowd just goes wild. On one hand, we can see this and think, wow, people can be pretty good after all. Maybe there is something to this whole human thing. But on the other hand, this show of humanity is only possible because of a robo-genocide that the people of this audience are happily perpetrating. She says,
Mecca don't plead for their lives?
but that isn't really the case. Robots often fight to stay alive in this movie.
You kind of shoot me over the propeller thing? Yeah, I don't need to go through it. I was considering it, but I changed my mind.
Are we really supposed to believe that nobody in this audience knows that robots enjoy life? No, they just don't care, except when the robot on the chopping block looks like a little cute boy. But this thematic tension between loving and hating humanity comes to its head with David himself. Because, again, on one hand, when David says he wants to be a real boy, we're inclined to sympathize with him. We want him to succeed in his mission, and so we tacitly accept that becoming human is a worthy thing to do.
Okay, so that guy on the right, he actually created David or Davids, and it's established in the movie that his child died. His child, who looked exactly like Haley Joel Osment, passed away. And that's why he created Davids, plural. I feel like that's a human thing to do. But, you cannot replace your deceased child. That's impossible. He tried to, and the outcome was awful. The outcome was awful. That's what I mean by well-intended. Yes, it's understandable that a grieving father would create a, mecha copy, imitation of his child. It's understandable that he would, maybe make that robot like his child, and it would maybe comfort him a little bit to have such a robot. Fam, I'm giving away a lot of spoilers. I forgot to say that there are spoilers in this. If you uncultured swine have not seen this movie, but you should see it. I remember seeing this movie for the first time in the theater. I recall it very, very clearly. And I remember how disturbed I was when David actually found this guy. Before he found this guy, his creator, right? His quote-unquote father, he finds another version of himself. And just that thought is scary to me. And he obviously, the creator obviously did not anticipate what multiple Davids could possibly do, how they would interact with each other.
But on the other hand, David is maybe one of the shallowest protagonists in film history.
Please make me a real boy, so my mommy will love me and let me stay with her.
He wants to become human, he wants to attain his mother's love, but those are the only two things we know about him. More than that, those are the only two things that are true about him.
That's what I mean. That's the scene I was talking about earlier where I cried just talking about it. But I mean, that's what I mean. Is like, if you're going to create a robot that appears very much like a human, what's the word? Not a robot. Shit, I know this word. God fucking damn it, I know this word. An android. If you're going to create an android that looks so much like a human, and a child one at that, and one that you can quote unquote imprint upon, and that will do anything for you, is that appropriate? The answer is no.
He has no personality, no interiority. He is a robot designed with the purpose of loving his mother, and outside that purpose, he is nothing.
Right. And that's the problem. That's the whole question that this movie raises. Is it right to create beings that will only do what they're programmed to do?
As such, there's something fundamentally shallow about David's mission. He has no reason to love his mother, no real reason to want to be a human, and so we're left watching him, wondering if his singular mission has any real value whatsoever. If we're going to...
He's doing all that simply because he's programmed to. He's programmed to want to, and he's programmed to attempt it. That's it. And that's what this whole fucking movie, Big Joel, is an exploration of that question.
To understand this thematic tension...
I really wish I knew the painting that this scene is based on, because it looks really cool, and it looks really cool in the movie too. It holds up, even though this was made in 2001.
AI, why it's there, the role that it serves, it makes sense to look closely at Pinocchio, because AI takes so much from that movie. The puppet on a journey to be a real boy, the little sidekick who seems to know right from wrong, the blue fairy, the strange emphasis on the ocean. But the story Pinocchio is telling could not be more different from that of AI. More than anything...
I would say it's pretty similar.
Pinocchio is about a little wooden boy who needs to internalize a code of ethics. The movie starts with a sentient block of wood who has to make mistakes. He skips school, lies, drinks, smokes, and he has to learn from those mistakes the right way to be a person. In the end, when he acts
brave, truthful, and unselfish,
he gets to be a real boy. Implicitly, Pinocchio claims that what makes people special is their ability to know right from wrong.
Yeah, that's true. But it's very obviously a movie is not real, right? Obviously a movie is a story upon a screen. And I feel like the movie was attempting to be different, however, from something like a Disney movie or a child's story. I think we saw earlier the mom reading on the boat, and like it's supposed to be more like quote unquote real life. The movie is, we're depicting a story with real humans and not with a cartoon.
And their ability to do good. AI diverges from this message completely. Where Pinocchio spends the whole movie learning and experiencing and developing a knowledge of how to act morally, David learns nothing in the film. He discovers nothing new about himself, and fundamentally, he is nothing. Where Pinocchio acts selflessly to save his father from the belly of a whale, David...
I don't know how you can say that he's nothing. When he cries and begs his mother not to abandon him when she abandons him. And like I said, he just moves heaven and earth to try to get back to her. How can you say that that's nothing? He's not programmed to learn, he's programmed to love.
Is a being of pure ego, only concerned with his own desire.
She's mine. And I'm the only one.
And
That's what I'm talking about, is he meets another one of him.
I've already shown, any attempt to frame the quest to be human in a positive light is immediately juxtaposed by the awfulness and cruelty of human beings. If Pinocchio answers the question, what is great about human beings, with the human capacity to act morally, AI answers this question with a great absence, a protagonist who has no personality, who struggles in a world without kindness. And that's the tension of the film right there, right? There is no clear reason why people are valuable or good, at least not within the film's imagination, but there is some inexplicable force that causes us to want to be people. AI is not about morals, it's not about compelling characters, it's not even about an interesting plot. That's what makes it so dull, so vaguely unwatchable.
What do you mean it's not about, it doesn't have an interesting plot? The fuck are you talking about, Big Joel? Of course it has an interesting plot. You watched the whole thing. You watched it start to finish.
But the movie is sort of about that absence. The protagonist himself is in absence. In the last scene of the movie, David drifts off to sleep as the narrator says,
And for the first time in his life, he went to that place where dreams are born.
and you can easily read this as the moment where David finally becomes a human, symbolically, if not literally. As the credits rolled, I only had one question. So he's a human now. That's good, I guess, but so what? What does that mean? But the movie has no answer to that question.
Okay, bro, it's explained by the aliens because, okay, everyone, I'll just tell you what happens in the movie. What happens in the movie is David goes through all this extreme rigmarole to try and get back to the mom, and he ends up in what's called an amphibicopter, which I hope we have one day, which is an aircraft that can also basically be a submarine. He ends up in an amphibicopter for literally thousands of years, praying to a blue fairy statue to become a real boy so that his mother will love him. And then he's there for thousands of years, and what happens is aliens find him. Humans go extinct, and aliens find him, and they're able to clone his mother for one day. He's able to have one fucking day of his mother, who he perceives as his mother, loving him. And it's also established in the movie that he actually doesn't sleep. He will lay quietly in a bed for 8 hours, but he will not sleep because he's a robot. And it's implied that he dies here. The mom does die here because she only had one day of life after being cloned by these aliens. And so what's implied is that, in my opinion, is that the aliens then terminated David. They terminated him as a robot, to study him or whatever. And like, hello, Teddy, that most darling, awesome teddy bear that we've been seeing almost this whole video, who's I think they call him a super toy in the movie, an amazing walking, talking robot that is a teddy bear. Like, he's just there, and he helps David. David could not have done all the things he does in the movie without Teddy's help, and Teddy even sits with him for those thousands and thousands of years while he's praying to the blue fairy. I mean, I just don't know how you can't get anything out of this movie. This movie is depressing, for sure. Like, this movie will fuck you up. This movie did fuck me up. This movie continues to fuck me up. Okay? Because of that question I posed earlier. And also because this is a Kubrick movie, or this is a movie with a lot of Kubrick influence, and he don't fuck around. Okay? So, think about it. This little robot wanted nothing more than to be loved by his mommy, and he moved heaven and earth just to get one day with her. I don't know how you can't get anything out of that.
Would it have been better if it did have an answer? I don't know. Maybe. But that's not what we got to see. So that's all I'm going to say about AI. Like, comment, and subscribe, and you can pretend that the kiss I'm about to give to the microphone is on your little cheek.
I fucking hated Bohemian Rhapsody. That movie was trash. Anyway, let's go back to AI. Fam, you gotta watch it. I am always kind of disappointed because I feel like a lot of these movies don't necessarily hold up the same way that they did when they first came out, and they don't currently hold up the same ways that they did. I mean, it's just a different thing entirely, having seen this movie in a theater in 2001 and having watched this movie on your phone in this day and age, in 2023, but like, one of my friends who likes film, I was begging her to watch this movie for a long time, and she finally watched it, and she was like, "Wow, that movie was really interesting, and it's gonna stick with me." Because like that's the whole fucking beauty of a Kubrick film is like you can't you more often than not cannot articulate why it is you were so enthralled by these movies, why it is that you were so entertained by these movies, why it is that 2001 A Space Odyssey is a classic. You know, you can't just say, "Oh, it's because this is this." You have to write a goddamn essay or make a 30-minute goddamn video about it, okay? So go watch this movie and tell me what you think in the comments if you've already seen it. Thank you and goodbye.